Imagine a region where superpowers once fought proxy wars, now replaced by a new cast of ambitious players. Not Russia or America this time, but Turkey, Egypt, and the oil-rich Gulf states. Their battlefield, the Horn of Africa. Their prize, Somalia's strategic coastline, Ethiopia's restless ambitions, and control over one of the world's most vital shipping lanes. In the shadow of Al-Shabaab's bombs and Sudan's endless civil war, a modern scramble for Africa is unfolding. One that could redraw maps, ignite new conflicts, and decide who controls the gateway between the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. This is not ancient history. This is happening right now, in 2026. And most of the world isn't paying attention. Welcome to the new great game in the Horn. I'm your investigative voice, and today we're pulling back the curtain on how Turkey, Egypt, and Gulf powers are carving up influence across Somalia and the Horn of Africa. What you're about to see isn't just foreign policy. It's a high-stakes geopolitical chess match with millions of lives hanging in the balance. Stick with me. By the end, you'll understand why this scramble could reshape East Africa for a generation. The Horn of Africa has always been a magnet for outsiders. Djibouti hosts military bases from China, the US, France, and Japan. Ethiopia, Africa's second most populous nation, has been landlocked since Eritrea's independence and desperately wants sea access. Somalia, with its 3,000-kilometer coastline, sits astride critical shipping routes. Add in Sudan's chaos, Al-Shabaab's insurgency, and climate-driven famines, and you have a perfect storm. But the old players are stepping back. Western attention is elsewhere. Into that vacuum have stepped regional heavyweights with their own agendas. Turkey was among the first to move decisively. Ankara has poured billions into Somalia since the early 2010s, building hospitals, training soldiers, and establishing a major military base in Mogadishu. By 2026, Turkish drones and advisors are deeply embedded in Somalia's fight against Al-Shabaab. It's not charity. Turkey secures port deals, construction contracts, and a strategic foothold in the Muslim world. President Erdogan's vision of neat Ottoman influence finds fertile ground here. Egypt, meanwhile, plays a different game. Cairo's primary obsession is the grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on the Nile. Ethiopia controls the flow of water Egypt depends on for survival. When Ethiopia signed a controversial memorandum with Somaliland for naval access, Egypt saw an opening. In 2024, Cairo signed a security pact with Somalia's federal government, sending weapons and training. It's a classic countermove, arm Somalia to pressure Ethiopia. By 2026, Egyptian officers are reportedly on the ground, and Cairo is deepening ties to counter Addis Abeba's regional weight. Then come the Gulf powers, primarily the UAE and to a lesser extent, Saudi Arabia and Qatar. The UAE has invested heavily in ports like Berbera in Somaliland and Bosaso in Puntland. These aren't just commercial hubs, they're dual-use facilities with military potential. Abu Dhabi backs certain Somali factions and has been accused of supporting proxy forces across the Horn. Riyadh focuses more on countering Iran and securing pilgrimage routes, while Qatar plays a mediating role with its own investments. This isn't random benevolence, it's calculated strategy. So how did we get here? Let's break down the moves. Let's start with Turkey. Beyond training Somalia's army, Ankara has expanded its diplomatic and economic footprint. Turkish companies dominate key infrastructure projects. In return, Somalia offers Turkey a platform to project power in Africa and the Red Sea. Reports from the region indicate Turkish drones have tipped the balance in several operations against Al-Shabaab. But critics argue this creates dependency. Mogadishu risks trading one form of external influence for another. Egypt's approach is more confrontational. The Horn has become a secondary front in its Nile dispute with Ethiopia. By backing Somalia, Cairo creates leverage. If Ethiopia pushes too hard on Somaliland recognition or port access, Somalia, bolstered by Egyptian arms, can escalate border tensions or diplomatic isolation campaigns. This axis has even drawn in Eritrea, with trilateral meetings reported in Asmara. It's an anti-Ethiopia alignment that risks turning local disputes into proxy battles. The Gulf states bring financial muscle and pragmatic realpolitik. The UAE's port investments give it control over logistics chokepoints. During the Yemen war, these facilities proved their strategic value. Today, they allow Gulf powers to monitor shipping, counter Iranian influence, and secure food imports. Somalia's fractured politics, federal government versus regional states like Puntland and Somaliland, let outsiders pick favorites. One faction gets Turkish training, another gets Emirati investment. The result, a fragmented Somalia easier to influence. What ties it all together is the Red Sea. With global shipping already strained by Houthi attacks and other disruptions, control of Horn ports becomes priceless. Turkey gains a Mediterranean to Indian Ocean corridor. Egypt protects its southern flank and Nile interests. Gulf monarchies diversify away from oil while containing rivals, but it's not without blowback. Al-Shabaab exploits the chaos, launching attacks that kill civilians and undermine government legitimacy. Humanitarian crises worsen as aid is politicized. In 2026, millions in Somalia face acute food insecurity, while foreign powers prioritize bases over bread. Here's where it gets dangerous. Ethiopia's internal troubles, especially fresh reports of forced recruitment in Tigray, create opportunities for outsiders. A distracted or weakened Ethiopia is less able to project power or resist pressure. If Tigray erupts again, Eritrean and Egyptian interests could align against Addis Ababa. Meanwhile, Somalia's government struggles with Al-Shabaab's resurgence and internal divisions, as highlighted by recent controversial statements from Somali officials framing the group as a de facto political competitor. The scramble is accelerating diplomatic realignments. Turkey mediates some disputes while arming others. Egypt hosts summits and supplies weapons. Gulf states bankroll infrastructure that doubles as strategic assets. One miscalculation, a naval incident off Somalia, an escalation in Tigray, or a major Al-Shabaab offensive, could cascade across borders, drawing in Sudan's warring parties and beyond. This isn't speculation. Analysts have warned of a powder keg in the Horn, with external meddling as the spark. The UN and AU are stretched thin. Traditional Western powers are distracted by other crises. The stage is set for a new chapter of African history written by regional players. On the ground, the human cost is staggering. Somali refugees and IDPs crowd camps while foreign navies patrol offshore. Ethiopian farmers worry about water from the Nile. Eritrean conscripts remain on high alert. Across the region, youth face a choice between migration, militancy, or meager local jobs in foreign-dominated economies. Investigative reporting from the field reveals patterns. Turkish passports issued to Somali elites, Egyptian military advisors in Mogadishu hotels, Emirati-flagged vessels in disputed waters. These are the quiet transactions reshaping sovereignty, yet there are cracks in the scramble. Local resistance to foreign bases grows. Somali nationalists resent being pawns. Ethiopia pushes back diplomatically. Public opinion across the Horn increasingly questions whose interests these deals truly serve. The new scramble for Somalia and the Horn is not inevitable doom. It's a contest of visions. Turkey's assertive partnership model, Egypt's defensive realism, and the Gulf's transactional capitalism. For the people of the Horn, the outcome will determine whether this decade brings stability and prosperity, or endless proxy wars and suffering. As an investigative journalist, I believe sunlight is the best disinfectant. Greater transparency in these deals, stronger African-led mediation through IGAD and the AU, and accountable governance in Mogadishu and Addis Ababa are essential. The world must pay attention before the next crisis explodes. What do you think? Is this new scramble an opportunity for development or a recipe for disaster? Drop your thoughts below. Share this video if you want more eyes on the Horn of Africa. If you found this investigation valuable, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll continue digging into underreported stories shaping our world. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay vigilant.